All right, everybody, we're going to do a little project that's going to get us a little bit more acquainted with the Illustrator interface. So build upon some of the stuff that we already know, and then how to tie in some other things, as well as thinking about line. You can see in these examples here, this is essentially what you're creating, and what you're going to be doing is learning about how to manipulate line, because after all, everything that we create has an edge or a border to it, or just a line to it, and sometimes they are straight, sometimes they're dashed, sometimes they're perpendicular or diagonal. Here you can see this is kind of organic, and every line serves a purpose in the design and will affect the overall mood in the design. And so it's important to be thinking about how we can wield the power of line. So you're welcome to copy any one of these examples here. I'm just going to show you a few of them just to kind of get you acquainted with it. You can see this is just a million zigzag lines kind of on top of each other, okay? And what that looks like right here. So without further ado, let's jump into Adobe and the line segment tool. Let's first actually back to this. So the requirements for this say that you need to use the line segment tool to create diagonal lines, and hold shift for vertical and horizontal. So let's go start with that one. You're not foreign to this one, it's this tool right here. Get this line profile off. So when we drag this out, you get a straight line, vertical line, or diagonal line. And what I want you to really do is toy around with the stroke options. So here's your weight, of course, but we don't need to have rounded edges there. We can have kind of the square or the cap, right? Here's another option. You can dash the line, and you can enter in any options here. So I think usually the default's something like 12. And then if you want to toy with the spacing there, you can even make it larger, like 16. And, oh, didn't like that. Maybe just that. Let's go smaller, 5. Okay, and so you can see how you can make adjustments to that. And then now we have something irregular, adding that 0 in there. Now, that's just for a dashed line. If you want to, you can also play around with the line profile, and sometimes this is really only used for the profiles right here. This is only really used for something like if you need something that looks like it's handwritten. You can see how it kind of tapers off on my name right there. Or if you're doing illustrations, you'll find this a lot. If we just type in skull illustrator illustrations, and if you get an image here, yeah, so here in this skull, you can kind of see how the line is tapering off right there. And so that's something that you can see with that line profile. Anyhow, so play around with those stroked options. I want you to use the pen tool and just do some zigzags. You can see a lot of examples in here where there are zigzags. For example, right here, just some zigzags. Even here, zigzags all over the place. And so that's what you're intended to do. So how do we use that tool? Well, the hotkey for the pen tool is P, and it's a pretty finicky tool. So my advice is this: just click, 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 click. And if you accidentally click and drag and you build out this line, I'm just going to tell you right off the bat to hit Command Z to undo that. And then you can click there, okay? To get this thing like off your cursor, like, how do I get this off here? You can hit Escape and then it's gone. Hit V, now you can select this and then go ahead and toy with any one of your options here. Just have at it, all right? Play with that. There we go. So now we have some irregularities in this line here, some inconsistencies. Let's jump back to the requirements here. I want you to use the pencil tool, the curve tool, and the pen tool. Click and drag. So this is for creating curved lines. So the pencil tool, and then the curve tool, and then the pen tool. Remember, you click and drag with that. So if we jump back here, the pencil tool is chilling right. Gosh, well, here's the curve tool, and the hotkey is that kind of too long there. So I just click on that one. And this one's pretty nice because when you move this around, it actually kind of updates into a nice curved line. And you'll learn about this when we do our shoe that we cut out in with the Glowforge, we'll learn about how to use that to curve and map out the shoe and make us look like we know how to draw. Okay, so there's the curve tool. And then let's go and find, let's use, gosh, the pencil tool, maybe underneath the brush. I don't even know where the pencil tool is. There it is. Underneath the shape. I hate the shaper tool. They put that in front of the pencil tool. That's why I couldn't find it. And the hotkey is N. Anyhow, the pencil tool, you just draw. And what I want you to do is exactly that. Do some curved lines with this, because if we're going to make a straight line, we would just use our that to do it. So N for the pencil tool, and let's make some nice curved lines. Now, here's a little trick. Double click this and let's up this to be a little bit more smooth. I'm going to jank that all the way to smooth. Hit OK and watch. This thing is just going to make my line kind of look nice and neat. And so, okay, nice and smooth. So if we don't know how to draw, nice and neat and smooth, that's going to help do it for us, okay? And then let's go to the pen tool. Again, the pen tool is kind of finicky, as we talked about before. Just click, 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 makes geometric, and I can undo. But what if I click and drag out this, and then, oh, you can see how it's kind of bending that line. And then if I do that again, and if I do that again, if I do that again, we can learn how we can wield this line into something that has this nice curviness to it. And so this is an organic line. This is a geometric line, and we need to play around with both. Let's bounce over to the next part here. It says go to the stroke panel and choose dashed lines for implied lines. We did that earlier. I just showed you how to create some dashed lines, and you can call them implied lines. You can vary the dash and the gap amounts, which I modeled earlier. And then use the stroke panel, and you can see how a lot of these areas have repeated the lines here, which is kind of cool. So if we're looking at this right here, we could go back to Illustrator, and I can drag out a copy of that line, and then drag out another copy of that line. Maybe select the middle one here, and then let's go ahead and toy around with doing a dash. Okay, and there you go. Now you've got some repetition of line, which is always good. Once you have one of something, it's really awesome to make another one, and another one, and another one. And what I'm going to actually show you is a really cool trick. When I take a line and I drag out a copy, and then I let go, Illustrator will duplicate the last thing that I did. And in this case, if I don't push anything else, which I haven't, I've moved my cursor, but I haven't pushed anything else. If I hit Command D, it'll duplicate the last action, Command D. And I can just hit Command D and have this kind of like cool loop-de-loop effect, all right? So at the moment that you take something, whoop, and then now I moved it, and so since I moved it, that's what action is being duplicated. So we'll talk about that one again, but this kind of has like this trippy little three-dimensional effect there. And so you can see how you can build off these. So go ahead and do that. All right, let's bounce back to this and look at the last thing. It says use stroke panel and control panel to change the weight of the stroke to add variety of weights. And so it's nice to have repetition and kind of the same thing over and over and over again. As artists, we need to figure out when is the same thing too boring, but when is too many things too chaotic. And so try and be humbled in either one. And since it's such an early project, we aren't going to really critique ourselves on how good the artwork looks. We're just toying around and getting a little bit more familiar with it. All right, we'll see you in the next one where I'm going to show you how to actually set this up. All right.